as it says in the book, resveratrol and its effects on human health and longevity, quote, probably the largest contributor to early aging and the diseases associated with aging is poor diet, end quote. In the first sermon in this series on diet, I introduced some factors in the typical American diet that contribute to disease. I also discussed some health principles and foods significant in terms of promoting the health of our bodies. And in today's sermon, I want to continue discussing foods that can help protect your health as they nourish your body. The statements I will make in this sermon are for informational purposes only and are not intended to treat or cure any specific disease. However, one does not need to be a medical practitioner to take a proactive role in promoting one's own health, and you should be doing that. You should be learning about principles of health and how you can protect your health and improve it. And that includes what you should know about your diet or what you eat. In the previous sermon, I discussed the laws of the Bible concerning the use of animals as food. Some animals, the Bible tells us, are clean or suitable for food, and others unclean or forbidden to be used as food. I discussed the meat of ruminant animals such as cows, sheep, and goats, which are healthful if they're fed properly on grass and if they're free of added chemicals that may affect health negatively. And I want to continue by discussing milk from such animals as a source of food. Milk in recent years has become a source of controversy for several reasons. One reason is the trendy idea that any kind of food from animals is bad and people should eat only food from the vegetable kingdom. As I plan to discuss later, there are many foods from the vegetable kingdom that belong in one's diet and that can promote health. However, the Bible warns in 1 Timothy chapter 4, 1 Timothy 4 beginning with verse 1, now the Spirit expressly says that in the latter times some will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their own conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from foods which God created to be received with thanksgiving by those who believe and know the truth. For every creature of God is good and nothing to be refused if it is received with thanksgiving, for it is sanctified by the word of God and prayer. So this tells us that there would be some who would be influenced by demons to preach and practice, among other things, vegetarianism, and teach that animal food should not be eaten. It says here, if the food is received with thanksgiving, being sanctified by the word of God and prayer, then that is acceptable. And food sanctified by the word of God that is set apart as food or fit for human consumption includes food from clean animals, as we discussed previously. God's word tells us why God gave the laws distinguishing between clean animals fit for use as food and unclean animals forbidden to be used as food. In Leviticus 11 and verse 45, Leviticus 11 verse 45, I am the Lord who brings you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. So we are to be separate, holy, sanctified to God's purpose. This is the law of the animals and the birds and every living creature that moves in the waters and every creature that creeps on the earth. Now, this is in the context of those laws that we were speaking of concerning clean and unclean foods. It goes on to say in verse 47, to distinguish between the unclean and the clean, and between the animal that may be eaten and the animal that may not be eaten. So God created certain food, certain animals to be used as food. Other animals were created for other purposes and should not be used for food. And as we discussed, among the animals declared suitable for food are ruminant or cud chewing, four-legged animals with cloven hooves, such as cows, goats, sheep, and other similar creatures, including deer and related animals. When God appeared to Abraham with two angels, as related in Genesis 18, Abraham asked his wife Sarah to prepare a meal of bread, beef from a calf, and curds or butter. Depending on the translation, some translate the Hebrew word curds, others butter. But a meal was prepared with bread, beef, and either curds or butter, and milk. As we read in Genesis 18 and verse 6, Abraham hurried to the tent to Sarah and said quickly, "Make ready 3 measures of fine meal, knead it and make cakes." And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, and gave it to a young man, and he hastened to prepare it. So he took butter and milk and the calf, which he had prepared, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree as they ate. The land God gave to Israel as an inheritance was a fair land, often described as a land flowing with milk and honey, as in Exodus 3 and verse 8. And elsewhere, actually that phrase is used a number of times in the Bible, a land flowing with milk and honey. And milk, curds, butter, and cheese are all mentioned as being used as food in the Bible. When David led a company of followers, or fled, I should say, he led them, but he was fleeing from Jerusalem to a city east of the Jordan River, and this was upon his rebellion, or the rebellion of his son Absalom. And some of the people loyal to David brought food to David and his company, and we read about it in 2 Samuel chapter 17. It says they brought beds and basins, earthen vessels and wheat, barley and flour, parched grain and beans, lentils and parched seeds, honey and curds, sheep and cheese of the herd, for David and the people who were with him to eat. This is verse, I don't know if I mentioned the verse, it's 2 Samuel 17, verse 27 and 28. David and the people who were with him to eat, for they said the people are hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness. So among the items brought for them to eat were curds and cheese. Milk is a food with many nutritional benefits. Whole milk, now whole milk is milk that has all of the natural product there, including the fat. Skim milk, of course, is milk that has some or nearly all of the fat removed. But whole milk is an excellent source of many vitamins and minerals, complete protein, healthy fatty acids, and antioxidants. According to an article on the website healthline.com, The minerals, vitamins, and proteins in milk can help build and maintain strong bones. Whole milk can also help maintain muscle mass as one ages. And quoting from the article, it says drinking milk is associated with a lower risk of age-related muscle loss in several studies. In fact, higher consumption of milk and milk products has been linked to greater whole body muscle mass and better physical performance in older adults. So milk is not just for babies and small children, it's health for people of all ages. And as we just read about David, who at the time was getting up in years, and he was eating milk products. Abraham was quite old when God and the angels appeared to him, and he served them milk and curds or butter. Whole milk, as opposed to skim milk, can also actually help maintain a healthy weight. Now, quite often, if you read about milk, you will find comments that milk causes you to gain weight because of the fat in it, and many people who comment on this suggest using skim milk instead, removing the fat from the milk. But here is another quotation from this same source, healthline.com. Quote, several studies have linked milk intake to a lower risk of obesity. Interestingly, this benefit has only been associated with whole milk. Whole milk. In a study in 143 or 45 3-year-old Latino children, found that higher milk fat consumption was associated with a lower risk of childhood obesity. Another study, including over 18,000 middle-aged and elderly women, showed that eating more high-fat dairy products was associated with less weight gain and a lower risk of obesity. Milk contains a variety of components that may contribute to weight loss and prevent weight gain. For example, its high protein content helps you feel full for a longer period of time, which may prevent overeating. Furthermore, the conjugated linoleic acid in milk has been studied for its ability to boost weight loss by promoting fat breakdown and inhibiting fat production. Additionally, many studies have associated diets rich in calcium with a lower risk of obesity. Evidence suggests that people with a higher intake of dietary calcium have a lower risk of being overweight or obese. Studies have shown that high levels of dietary calcium promote fat breakdown and inhibit fat absorption in the body, end quote. Now, I might interject here that contrary to common belief, healthy fats generally speaking help you maintain a healthy weight. And these so-called low-fat foods that are sold in the supermarkets often contain tremendous amounts of sugar or other ingredients that actually cause you to gain weight. And one of the benefits of eating a healthy fat, like the healthy fats in whole milk, is that eating that material gives you a fuller feeling, so you don't feel the cravings to eat other things that are not necessarily beneficial to your health, such as sugary snacks and things like that. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of health. There are many other health benefits to these healthy fats as well. That's just one of them. Going on, this article tells us that the nutritional content of milk varies depending on factors like its fat content and the diet and treatment of the cow it came from. In other words, the healthier the animal, the healthier the product from the animal is going to be. And a lot of that has to do with the food that it eats. If the animal is fed mainly or entirely on grass, you're going to have a much healthier product, not only in terms of meat, but as well as, or milk as well. From the article, it says, milk from cows that eat mostly grass contains significantly higher amounts of conjugated linoleic acid and omega-3 fatty acids. Now those fatty acids that are found not only in milk but other foods, some other foods I should say, are extremely important for general health, for controlling inflammation or getting rid of inflammation, and have a very important role in keeping you healthy, maintaining your health, and keeping you from getting sick. Goes on to say, organic and grass-fed cow's milk contains higher amounts of beneficial antioxidants, such as vitamin E and beta-carotene, which help reduce inflammation and fight oxidative stress. There are a number of antioxidants that are found in a variety of foods, and these antioxidants, as far as animal food is concerned, is found in higher quantities in grass-fed animals than in animals that subsist mainly on grain. Foods made from milk, such as butter, yogurt, buttermilk, and cheese, also have many of the same benefits as whole milk. Now, it is true, however, that some people have difficulty digesting cow's milk because of lactose intolerance or a sensitivity to it that may create health issues. And another suggestion is to avoid milk from cows treated with a hormone to increase milk production. There is a hormone that is often fed to cattle to help make them more productive in terms of milk production. It is a growth hormone called recombinant bovine growth hormone, or abbreviated as RBGH. However, it may pose a health problem and has been linked to cancer. The government tells us there's nothing to fear from this hormone, but I don't necessarily trust everything the government says in terms of what they recommend for health. But it's not that hard. Usually, many grocery stores sell milk that they will say on the label that it does not contain contain milk from cows that have been treated with this hormone. There's also controversy over whether milk should be pasteurized. As pasteurization basically is just heating milk to the point where supposedly the heat kills any harmful bacteria in it, although it actually doesn't kill all the bacteria necessarily that could be pathogenic bacteria, but that's the idea behind it. But heating the milk can also alter the nutritional value of the milk. Now, there is no question that milk produced under unsanitary conditions may contribute to the spread of some serious infectious diseases. However, milk that is produced under reasonably sanitary conditions from healthy animals is considered safe by a number of health professionals, especially if it's certified raw milk. And certified milk is produced under specific guidelines to ensure cleanliness and safety. It's not only produced under controlled conditions, but also the places where certified milk is produced are regularly inspected by health authorities. An article on the website realmilk.com, that's REALMILK.com, presents studies that indicate several problems with pasteurization. And it is contended in some of these articles, and I'm quoting, I'm referring here mainly to one specific article, but there are a number of articles on the website relating to this. But here are some of the contentions that are made from the realmilk.com website. Number one, many people who have problems with lactose intolerance can drink raw milk without any sign of lactose intolerance. Secondly, studies indicate that the consumption of raw milk can offer protection against common allergies and asthma. Third, the minerals in raw milk that help build and sustain strong bones produce better results than the same minerals in pasteurized milk. And I might just interject here that there are a lot of things that go into the production, the building of bones and teeth, besides just minerals like calcium and zinc and potassium. There are a number of other factors that have a role in helping to build bones and teeth in the body. Fourth, beneficial bacteria found in raw milk are destroyed by pasteurization. Raw milk has a number of bacteria that are healthful and that help you maintain a proper balance of bacteria in your gut. Raw milk can help strengthen the immune system. And this also has to do perhaps with partly the bacteria that's found in raw milk, as well as other ingredients in the raw milk that help strengthen one's immune system. Enzymes present in raw milk can facilitate digestion, making it easier to digest. Pasteurization degrades the nutritional value of milk, and there are a number of heat-sensitive compounds in milk that are affected by heating it to the point where it is required for pasteurization. Eighth, raw milk demonstrates antimicrobial action against known pathogens. In other words, to a degree, if there are any pathogenic microbes in raw milk, they will be destroyed. Again, this depends on the type and amount and the quality of the milk itself. But raw milk has the capacity to destroy a certain amount of harmful pathogens. And finally, foodborne illnesses can and do occur with pasteurized milk. Pasteurization does not protect against all disease organisms that may be found in contaminated milk. In fact, there is a higher risk of listeria infection from pasteurized milk than from raw milk. Now, there is a lot of back and forth debate concerning these points, and there are those who would dispute every one of these points. So you may want to do your own research, consider the pros and cons of this argument, and possibly find a source of certified raw milk if you want to drink cow's milk. I might mention that over the years, our family has used certified raw milk when it was available, and we've also used pasteurized milk, but personally I think that certified raw milk is probably healthier for you, but that's up to you to decide for yourself. Goat milk may be even healthier than cow's milk, and for many people it is easier to digest. And goat milk does not need to be homogenized because the cream or fats in goat milk do not separate from the other parts of the milk. In Proverbs 27 and verse 26, Proverbs 27 verse 26, it says, "The lambs will provide your clothing, and the goats the price of a field." And this is in the context of taking care of your animals. And it says in verse 27, "You shall have enough goat's milk for your food, for the food of your household and the nourishment of your maidservants." So the Bible endorses the use of goat's milk for food. Another food that is mentioned often in the Bible is fish. Water flowing from God's temple in Jerusalem to the east during the millennial period will run down to what is now the Dead Sea and probably beyond. And the Bible tells us there will be very abundant fish there. In Ezekiel 47 and verse 8, Ezekiel 47 verse 8, it says, "Then he said to me, this water flows toward the eastern region, goes down into the valley and enters the sea." So what is the picture here is it's flowing from Jerusalem down into the Jordan Valley and then into the Dead Sea area, as it is now called the Dead Sea, but it won't be a Dead Sea then, because it says when it reaches the sea, its waters are healed. In other words, it's no longer going to be the Dead Sea. "And it shall be that every living thing that moves where the rivers go will live. There will be a very great multitude of fish, because these waters go there, for they will be healed, and everything will live wherever the river goes." This is a river coming out from the sanctuary or the temple of God. "And it shall be that fishermen will stand by it from En Gedi to En Eglaim, and they will be places for spreading their nets. Their fish will be of the same kinds as the fish of the Great Sea." The Great Sea is the Mediterranean. "Their fish will be of the same kind as the Great Sea, exceedingly many." So this indicates that this body of water will then be in a place where it will be connected to the ocean, salt water, in other words. The Dead Sea is mostly salt, or I should say is not mostly salt, but in one way I guess you could say it's mostly salt, but it's the saltiest body of water on the face of the earth by far, and that's why nothing can live there, because of the salt content. And evidently it will still be salty, probably because it will be connected with the ocean at that point, and somewhat brackish, so it will have the same type of fish evidently as are found in the Mediterranean. At least 4 of the 12 disciples Jesus chose to train to become apostles were fishermen. Peter, Andrew, James, and John were all fishermen. We read in Matthew 4 in verse 19, Matthew 4 and verse 19, that Jesus said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." They had been fishing for fish, but Jesus Christ was intending to make them, you might say, fishers of men, as he put it. Now, the Sea of Galilee is where they made their living fishing. The Sea of Galilee is in what was at that time northern Israel, or actually part of, I don't know if you'd say it was part of Judea, but it was connected ethnically and socially to Judea. And that's where Jews lived. Many Jews lived, and where Jesus grew up near the Sea of Galilee. And the Sea of Galilee is actually a freshwater lake. It's called the Sea of Galilee, but it is a freshwater lake, and was a source of fish for the market at that time. Now, I suppose still is. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7 and verse 9, Matthew 7 and verse 9, "What man is there among you who, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will he give him a serpent? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him?" So here fish is mentioned as a good gift. It's mentioned along with bread as something that God gives. So obviously it is something that is beneficial for food and for health. Jesus fed a multitude, including 5,000 men plus women and children, with 5 loaves and 2 fish, we're told in Matthew chapter 14. And on another occasion, Jesus fed 4,000 men plus women and children with 7 loaves and a few fish. Of course, this was miraculous, but the items that were distributed included some type of bread made out of grain and fish. In Leviticus 11 and verse 9, it says, "These you may eat of all that are in the water. Whatever in the water has fins and scales, whether in the seas or in the rivers, that you may eat. Whatever has fins and scales. But all in the seas or in the rivers that do not have fins and scales, all that move in the water, or any living thing which is in the water, they are an abomination to you. They shall be an abomination to you. You shall not eat their flesh, but you shall regard their carcasses as an abomination. Whatever in the water does not have fins or scales, that shall be an abomination to you." So in order to be clean, a water creature must have both fins and scales, not one or the other, but both, fins and scales. And there are many varieties of clean fish in the oceans and rivers of the world. I bet there are also many varieties of unclean animals, including shellfish, catfish, and other water-dwelling creatures that do not have both fins and scales, and those are forbidden. Fish is high in many important nutrients, including high-quality protein, iodine, and various vitamins and minerals. Fatty fish also packs omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D. And it's often recommended that one eat at least 1 serving of fish per week, which is linked to a reduced risk of heart attacks and strokes. In fact, in cultures where fish is eaten as a main part of the diet, there is a very low incidence of cardiovascular disease. And I might mention, too, that when I had a stroke, or actually a transitory ischemic attack, which is a minor stroke, one of the doctors that I saw after that recommended that I eat fish once or twice a week to help protect against cardiovascular problems. And a lot of that has to do with the fatty acids, as well as other beneficial constituents of fish. The omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish are also beneficial for other reasons, including being crucial in the development of the human embryo. Omega-3 fatty acids are crucial in the development of a human embryo, and they assist with the growth and development of the embryo, and no doubt after a child is born, they're important for that as well. And an article from healthline.com says that the omega-3 fat, DHA, as it's commonly called, is especially important for brain and eye development. For this reason, it's often recommended that pregnant and breastfeeding women eat enough omega-3 fatty acids. Now, if you read about the nutritional benefits of health, you'll also probably find a warning that some fish is high in mercury, and mercury is a deadly poison which can cause problems, especially with the brain and nervous system. It's a nerve poison. And so you should eat fish that are low in mercury. The fish in which mercury tends to be concentrated are higher on the food chain, fish like tuna, for example, which is higher on the food chain than some other fish, such as salmon, sardines, and trout. And those fish, the smaller fish, the salmon, the sardines, and the trout, and other small fish, are likely to have less mercury. And it's recommended that a pregnant woman eat no more than 12 ounces of fish a week because of the potential danger of mercury poisoning. By the way, your body can handle a low level of toxins, including mercury. It will flush those toxins out of your system, especially if you're eating a healthy diet. But mercury is an extremely toxic mineral, and so you want to avoid consuming mercury as much as possible, especially any significant amount of it. It's also advised to avoid raw and uncooked fish because of microorganisms that could harm the fetus or make you sick even if you're not pregnant. And it's better if you cook the fish before you eat it. Fish intake is linked to reduced mental decline in older adults. People who eat fish regularly have more gray matter in their brain centers that control memory and emotion, according to healthline.com. And it also may help prevent and treat depression. As you probably know, depression is a common mental condition. It's characterized by a low mood, by sadness, decreased energy, a loss of interest in life and activities, and it is a serious health problem In fact, it's currently one of the world's biggest health problems. I think I read recently that medication for depression is prescribed more often than any other medication, or at least it's in one of the very top ones. There may be one or two medications related to heart disease that are prescribed more often, but a depression medication is something that is being used on a very large scale because of people having problems with mental health and depression in our culture today, and this is worldwide. But studies have found that people who eat fish regularly, according to healthline.com, are much less likely to become depressed. Numerous controlled trials also reveal that omega-3 fatty acids help to fight depression and significantly increase the effectiveness of antidepressant medications. And as we've discussed, fatty fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Fish and omega-3 fatty acids may also aid other mental conditions such as bipolar disorder. Fish is a good source of vitamin D. Vitamin D is an important constituent of a healthy diet, and yet it's estimated that about 40% of the population in the United States is deficient in vitamin D. Fish and fish products are among the best dietary sources of vitamin D. Fatty fish like salmon and herring contain the highest amounts. Also, some fish oils, such as cod liver oil, are also very high in vitamin D. In fact, some people take cod liver oil specifically to get the vitamin D from it. A tablespoon of cod liver oil provides more than 200% of the recommended daily value for vitamin D recommended by the, I believe it's the I forget what agency sets those standards, but anyway, many people believe that their recommended daily allowances for some vitamins, especially vitamin D, are too low. And I've read a number of comments from various kinds of physicians, doctors, and healthcare professionals that recommend you get at least 500 milligrams of vitamin D a day, which is, I think, the Food and Drug Administration recommends 100 milligrams as sufficient, but many physicians think that is not enough. Eating fish may reduce your risk of autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune diseases like type 1 diabetes occur when your immune system mistakenly attacks and destroys healthy body tissues. Several studies link omega-3 or fish oil intake to a reduced risk of type 1 diabetes in children, as well as a form of autoimmune diabetes in adults. The omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D in fish and fish oils may be responsible. Some experts believe that fish intake also may lower your risk of rheumatoid arthritis and multiple sclerosis. There are actually a number of autoimmune diseases, and this also seems to be a plague in our modern society, especially in the Western world. All sorts of autoimmune diseases, including various types of arthritis and so forth. And I'm convinced that a lot of these diseases have to do with our diet, the poor state of our diet, and a lack of anti-inflammatory constituents in our diet, such as omega-3 fatty acids and other healthy fats or other food constituents that help fight and reduce inflammation. And along with that, another epidemic, I guess you could call it an epidemic in our modern society, especially in the United States, is asthma, which is probably could be considered an autoimmune disease. Asthma is a common disease characterized by chronic inflammation of your airways. Now, omega-3 fatty acids and similar fats in fish and other constituents, vitamins, certain vitamins and so forth, help control and reduce inflammation. So anything that helps control and reduce inflammation in your body is going to help you in terms of your health in many different ways, including helping to reduce heart disease, or other cardiovascular diseases, and autoimmune diseases, mental health problems, and cancer and other diseases. Studies show that regular fish consumption is linked to a 24% lower risk of asthma in children. Another benefit of eating fish is that it may help you prevent vision problems as you grow older. Age-related macular degeneration is a leading cause of vision impairment and blindness that affects older adults, mostly. And some evidence suggests that fish and omega-3 fatty acids may help protect against this disease, as many other diseases, as I mentioned. In one study, regular fish intake was linked to a 42% lower risk of macular degeneration in women. Another study found that eating fatty fish once per week was linked to a 53% decreased risk of neovascular macular degeneration. And macular degeneration is related to problems with the blood vessels in your eyes. Fish may help improve sleep quality. Sleep disorders have become common worldwide. And there are various theories as to why this is, but some researchers believe that vitamin D deficiency may be involved. In a 6-month study, 95 middle-aged men, and most of this information, by the way, is taken from healthline.com, although not all of it is. In a 6-month study in 95 middle-aged men, a meal with salmon 3 times a week led to improvements in both sleep and daily functioning. So, eating fish can be beneficial to your health in numerous different ways, and so it is recommended, highly recommended by many physicians that you try to eat fish at least once a week. And it's also recommended that you choose wild-caught fish and not farmed fish. Fish that are farmed are raised in dirty ponds and fed mainly soybeans or other grain-based food, and will have far fewer omega-3 fatty acids and may be contaminated with pollutants. And there are a number of reasons not to be eating farm-raised fish. Clean meat from ruminant animals, properly fed and taken care of. Milk and clean fish are among the foods God provides for our sustenance and health. As in all things, balance is important. In other words, you don't just eat meat all the time and nothing but meat. Animal food is only one part of a healthy, balanced diet. In another sermon, I plan to discuss the health benefits of some other foods from God's creation.